$14. That is all it cost to feed a Greek hoplite for an entire week of war. The same warriors who defeated the greatest empire on earth. The same soldiers who ran 26 miles after a battle and invented the modern marathon. $14. Meanwhile, the US military spends $9 per soldier per meal. The Greeks did it better, 2,500 years ago. In our last video, we covered the 4 foods Greek hoplites carried into battle: maza, dried figs, cured olives, hard cheese, lighter than your phone. But we left out the part that should make every prepper and every survival planner stop dead. Because the hoplite food system was not just about the battle, it was about what came after. A Greek soldier did not fight once and go home. He fought at marathon. He marched 26 miles back to Athens the same day. He stood at Thermopylae for 3 days in 40 pounds of bronze armor in August heat, and then he needed to rebuild his body fast enough to do it again. Modern sports scientists have studied endurance athletes, special forces recovery protocols, and military nutrition for decades. What they have found about the hoplite diet is genuinely hard to believe. Let's start with what a Greek soldier actually needed from his food. A hoplite in full kit wore a bronze helmet, chest plate, greaves on his legs, and carried a 9-foot spear and a 40-pound shield. Total kit weight, 60 to 70 pounds. He marched in that kit. He ran in that kit. He fought in close-packed phalanx formations where the man next to him was the only thing keeping him alive. Caloric demand on a combat day, 3,000 to 3,500 calories. That is the caloric output of an Olympic sprinter on race day. Now here is where the 4-food system becomes remarkable. Maza, the barley flat cake, is a slow-burning complex carbohydrate. Barley has a lower glycemic index than wheat, lower than rice, lower than almost any modern grain. That means it releases energy slowly, steadily, no spike, no crash. A hoplite eating maza before a battle had fuel that lasted for hours. Modern endurance athletes call this glycogen loading. The Greeks called it breakfast. The dried figs came next, and this is where the system gets almost too good to be accidental. Figs are one of the highest natural sources of simple sugar that does not require refrigeration. They are loaded with potassium, which is the electrolyte that prevents muscle cramps. Modern marathon runners eat dried figs on course for exactly this reason. A Greek soldier could pull a handful of figs from his pack mid-march and get an instant energy boost with zero preparation. The olives were the fat layer, and not just any fat. Oleic acid, the primary fat in olive oil, has been shown in modern research to reduce inflammation markers in the body. After a day of combat, a hoplite's muscles were torn, inflamed, and under stress. The olives in his pack were actively reducing that inflammation. He did not know the word oleic acid. He did not need to. The food was doing it anyway. Then the hard-aged cheese. Cheese made from sheep or goat milk and aged until firm contains casein protein. Casein is a slow-digesting protein. It releases amino acids into the bloodstream over 6 to 8 hours. Modern bodybuilders take casein protein supplements before bed to feed muscle recovery during sleep. Greek soldiers were doing this naturally. Hard cheese plus olives plus figs plus barley. Slow-burn carbs. Fast-release sugar. Anti-inflammatory fat. Sustained protein. This is a complete macronutrient profile. Accidentally, 2,500 years before the word macronutrient existed. Modern nutritional scientists who have analyzed the hoplite diet have called it nearly optimal for sustained physical performance. One study comparing ancient Mediterranean dietary patterns found that the combination of whole grains, dried fruit, olive oil, and aged cheese covers over 90% of a soldier's daily micronutrient needs without supplementation. No protein powder, no electrolyte tablets, no energy gels. 4 foods in a leather pouch. Here is what the history books skip. After Thermopylae, the Greek survivors did not have a recovery week. After Marathon, the Athenians did not go home and rest. They marched straight back to Athens to defend against a second Persian landing, 26 miles, after a full-scale battle, on the same food they had been eating for days. Modern sports medicine would call that impossible. The Greeks called it Tuesday. What made it survivable was the post-battle version of the same food system. Cheese for overnight muscle repair, figs for glycogen restoration, olives for inflammation suppression, maza for steady energy the next morning. The system worked coming in and going out. There was no recovery protocol. The food was the recovery protocol. Modern military rations solve this problem differently. A U.S. Army MRE is engineered to deliver 1,200 calories per pack, with specific sodium targets for hydration and protein levels for muscle maintenance. The average MRE costs the government between $8 and $10 per meal. The Hoplite field ration delivered roughly the same nutritional function, for less than $2 a day. Here is what the full Hoplite field system costs you today. At any grocery store, no specialty shop required. Bob's Red Mill barley flour, $2.99 per pound. Sun-made dried figs, $3.99 per bag. Castelvetrano olives, cured in brine, $2.49. Aged Pecorino Romano, or hard sheep's milk cheese, $4.99 per half pound. Total, $14.46. That is one full week of Hoplite field rations. It fits in a gallon Ziploc bag. It weighs less than 2 pounds. It does not require refrigeration. It does not expire in a year. Dried figs and hard-aged cheese kept for months in Mediterranean summer heat 2,000 years before refrigeration existed. Now compare that to a modern survival food system targeting the same duration. A Mountain House 7-day emergency food kit, $64.99. An Augustin Farms 1-week bucket, $58. A ReadyWise 7-day kit, $71. The Hoplite system costs 78% less than the cheapest of those three options. And it does not need water to rehydrate. And it does not taste like cardboard. The men who held off 300,000 Persians for 3 days were eating better, cheaper survival food than anything on Amazon right now. Think about that. We covered the 4 foods last video. This video was about why they work. The next one in this series is going to be even harder to believe, because the Greeks were not the only ancient civilization doing this. The Romans fed 500,000 soldiers across an empire spanning 3 continents on 1 biscuit. We covered part of that story already. If you missed it, the link is right here. Subscribe if you want to see where this goes next. And tell me in the comments, could you survive a week on $14 of ancient Greek food? Yes or no?